All righty, welcome back here live to the Fast Break podcast here on the Variety Sports Network. I'm your host, Shoot the Rock. It's been a couple weeks here, busy week with Thanksgiving, then just kind of last week after, but excited to be back here to talk some college hoops. Might even talk some NBA at the end. I was watching the NBA Cup last night. Plus, it's a little bit slower time of year for college basketball with the kind of final schedule going on for all the student athletes while they're still considered that. But still a lot of hoops this time of year, so we're gonna go over it. First thing we're gonna do, start off today's show. We're gonna go with my reactions to the Week 6 AP poll. You might be saying, DeRock, why do you care about this poll? Well, the last 20 years or 21 years now, whoever's been ranked in this top 12 of the AP poll in Week 6, one of those teams has been the national champion. So as you see here, we got Arizona at 1, Michigan 2, Duke 3, Iowa State 4. Those are all 4 undefeated teams at the top. All have looked really strong. We're kind of be going through here each team's kind of individual resume so far after this. Then kind of the next tier, you got UConn at 5, Purdue at 6, Houston at 7, Gonzaga 8, Michigan State 9, BYU 10, Louisville 11, and then Alabama 12. So history tells us that one of these 12 teams is going to be our national champion. However, I do want to say, last year, this almost got broken. It would have got changed, and this is kind of arbitrary stat. Houston was ranked 15th in the Week 6 AP poll last year. And, I mean, you saw that national title game, or at least hope you did. It was a great one. It was a classic where they would have been right there. So that, and then this would have been moved to the top 15 in the last, 20 years or whatever. So then if you look at that, you got Illinois, also 7-2, North Carolina, who's 8-1, and then Vandy, who's 9-0. So feel free to drop here in the comments, kind of your thoughts on what team you like to maybe take that home. Then we're kind of going to look here at the Ken Pom ratings, pretty similar. And that's a lot of it too, is then it's like, I want to say you need to have a top 21 defense and a top 31 or top 21 offense, top 31 defense, which, these stats here on Ken Pom, they change throughout the year, but we just kind of look at them for what they're looking at right now. So right now, Michigan, number 1, 12th ranked offense, number 1 ranked defense. Iowa State, number 2, 6th ranked offense, 2nd ranked defense. Gonzaga, actually 3, with the 7th ranked offense, 4th ranked defense. I find that a little strange after their game against Michigan. Duke at 4 in Ken Pom, 10th offense, 3rd defense. Purdue at 5th with the number 1 offense, which, again, too, after looking at that Iowa State game they played this week, and I don't really know how you could say that. And then the 26th ranked defense, so just inside there. Arizona 6th, 9 for both. Connecticut 7, 14th offense, 7th defense. Vandy at 8, but then, or no, their defense would be inside. But like I said, they're, not top 12 in the AP poll, but top 15. Illinois is at 9, same thing, but they meet the parameters. Houston's at 10. I want to say their offense currently has them outside, unless I have that stat backwards. But 29th offense, 5th ranked defense. BYU 11. Michigan State 12, same thing. 36th offense, 6th defense. So just not a good enough offense. And then Alabama, 2nd ranked offense, 46th defense. And then Louisville, same thing. 4th ranked offense with the defense. So for those last two, not good enough. Florida in there, or no, their offense isn't good enough either. So like I said, I really think we're kind of looking at pretty much, I would say, any of those like kind of top 14 teams in Ken Pom here, kind of top 14, 15 in the poll. It's looking pretty similar. I think Vandy and UNC would be like the only ones where Vandy's 15. What's UNC? UNC's 23rd on Ken Pom. But, and yeah, I don't know if I'm saying how I'm feeling about Vanderbilt so far, but yeah, a lot of those teams, that's kind of what I'm looking at here for kind of my national championship favorites so far. So let's kind of go through, some of these resumes here and kind of look at them. We'll start number 1 team in the country, the Arizona Wildcats. You can kind of see that. I wish I could make this bigger, but they're scheduled there on the side. They start with a really nice win against defending national champions Florida on opening night, but they also have a lot of really other good wins outside of that. I mean, beating UCLA in Los Angeles, wasn't in Pauley Pavilion, but, in LA. I've kind of talked about that one already. They didn't play in any sort of like Thanksgiving tournament after that win against UConn. So I'm trying to think, really, I think the biggest game since I last did a podcast here for Arizona would have been that win against Auburn on Saturday, where they just blow them out 97-68. They then play Alabama, so both the Alabama schools here back to back. And Arizona's really just looked like one of the most dominant teams in the country so far. I mean, to go into Gamble and win like they did, that's really impressive. Let's just kind of look at kind of some of their stats here, kind of their leaders. So it's still Koa Pete. He's their go-to guy. He's been playing well. Like I said, not earth-shattering like that first game of the year when he went for 30 points against Florida, but he's still averaging 15 a game, as well as 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Jaden Bradley's been their go-to guard with 14 points a game, 3 assists. As you can see, their leader, Tobe Awaka, was on the team last year. He's averaging 9 points a game, but 10 boards, so leading rebounder. So this team, just like I said, they have really good guards in Jaden Bradley. They have, Cole Pete, Tobe Awaka, like a lot of really good bigs. Even Montes Crivas, you see their leader in blocks, but he was on the team last year. And what's he averaging? 9 and 8 essentially. So like they're really just all around a very well-rounded team. I mean, Anthony Del Orso, you're seeing there, who's been coming off the bench some games, but he's a really good guy as well, scoring, him and Barry's both 11 points per game. It's just a very well-rounded Arizona team. I've liked what I've seen from them so far. I definitely think like they are a 1 seed at this point. Like it's going to be theirs to lose. Granted, the Big 12 schedule is going to be very tough, but I mean, you see the games that they've already won. Like I don't really know if necessarily this Big 12 schedule is going to be a huge, kind of burden for them. Looking up, so like I said, it's Alabama here is like probably their toughest non-conference game remaining. I mean, San Diego State could maybe be a tough one, but probably not, just for how good this Arizona team's been looking. And then you get into Big 12 play, and even that, really not a super difficult start. It's really not until like Monday, January 26th, that they play BYU. Like, ASU's like a decent team, but really like all these teams, I'm pretty confident Arizona is better than. So I'm really liking, how the Wildcats are going to look. Like they're going to set themselves up here very nicely for a 1 seed. Yeah, definitely their second half of their Big 12 schedule gets a little bit tougher. They play Tech, as you see there, Kansas, at Houston versus Iowa State. Yeah, Kansas twice. So, but I don't know if they can kind of keep this streak rolling. Like you could very, very easily see them being, gosh, so what is it? What's their record right now? 9-0 or 8-0, something like that. 4, 6, yeah, 8-0. I mean, that's still like another. They're going to be, double digits undefeated if they get by Alabama this week. Like I said, it's going to be a tough game. And Alabama is well versed. They've played a lot of tough opponents already, but I'm feeling pretty confident in the Arizona Wildcats right now. I definitely would like them, as a national championship pick. Then next, we'll move on to the number 2 team in the country, Michigan Wolverines. Michigan has won 6 straight games by 25 plus points. Like they just blow out Villanova. Granted, Villanova not as good of a team. Here on Tuesday with an 89-61 win, but really the most impressive, like the players' error, because that's the thing. Like this stretch, like I'm saying, 25 plus point each win in 6 straight games. That goes back to the players' error where they're playing, like I said, San Diego State not as good, but Auburn, who's a ranked team as you're seeing there, granted, now they've gotten blown out by both the top 2 teams in the country. But beating Gonzaga by 40 is very impressive, especially how good Gonzaga had looked early in the year. Rutgers, not a very good team, but this Michigan Wolverines team, they've kind of looked like they figured out. Like I said, there was a bit of a scare against Wake Forest early in the year. TCU played them tough as well, but really late, Coach Dusty May really has this squad rolling. So looking at their leader there, Yaxel Lendenborg, like I said, I talked about him a lot in kind of my preseason episodes. I'm averaging 15 a game with 7 boards and 3 assists. It really seems like they're just using him more correctly now. Some of the earlier games, they were just kind of, they weren't featuring him as much, and like they're going with just very big lineups. So because of that, he wasn't getting featured as much. But now that he's like really, I think, kind of blossomed in their style, they figured out how to use him a bit better. This Michigan team to be very unstoppable. Plus, then you throw in their other bigs of Morez Johnson going for 13 points a game with six boards, and averaging over a block, just like Yaxel. Then you got Ade Mara, who's been a really good, center from. That's what I'm saying, though. The only thing is they are a very big team, so it's just kind of finding a way to balance all that bigs. But yeah, Ade Mara with 9 points, 9 rebounds. And like I'm saying, you're looking at him averaging nearly 3 blocks a game. Like he's just been a very good presence in the lane. Like I said, very big team for Michigan here. And honestly, their guards really have stepped up as of late. Elliot Cadeau was their leader in that Villanova game. But he's now, averaging 9, 3, and 5, almost six assists. Him and like Namari Burnett scoring, 8. with an assist as well. So uh, it's similar to Arizona. I think this is a pretty well-rounded team here for Michigan. Like I said, now that Yaxel, like I said, was really high on him last year at UAB, and now that he really seems like they've kind of found their groove with him, I'm really high on Michigan. They're definitely a team that I would like, to win the national championship. Looking at their upcoming schedule here, no really tough, like all their tough non-con games are already over. It's really you get into Big Ten play here, and that's the thing too with how big these conferences are. I do like that the Big Ten does is of having two conference games that the teams play in December to kind of like lighten the load once you get to January and February. Um, but yeah, like I said, destroyed Rutgers. Now go at Maryland. I haven't really been super impressed with Maryland so far this year, so I definitely would like Michigan in that game. And then looking at, I mean, they don't play Purdue. That's the thing. I wish they played Purdue twice this year. They don't play Purdue till February 17th. Like that's gonna be a great game. However, I mean, Michigan State's still a really good squad. They go there on January 30th. Indiana at times can light it up. Saw it against Penn State the other night. Plus Michigan plays Nebraska. Nebraska is a team I've been really excited about so far, but that's a game at home. And then as you're seeing there, February 21st, I always forget about this. Duke did this last year against Illinois too. Granted, ran the Fighting Illini out of the building, but February 21st, Michigan versus Duke. That game's in Washington, D.C. That game's going to be insane. If those two teams keep up the pace that they're at, that might be the game of the year. So let's transition now to those Duke Blue Devils. They're now the third best team in the country. I would argue they probably have the best resume out of any of these kind of top teams here. So they win against Texas on opening night. They take down Kansas in the Champions Classic. They take down Arkansas in the United Center on Thanksgiving. They then follow that up with wins against Florida at home in the ACC SEC Challenge, and then the one where I kind of thought they were going to get tripped up, but they passed the test. They go to Michigan State, win in East Lansing to improve to 10-0 on the year. So this Duke Blue Devil squad looking really good so far. So obviously their leader, Cam Boozer, I've talked about him a lot. He's probably the favorite for National Player of the Year. He would probably be my pick at this point. Not probably, he would be my pick. And you can kind of see if all the NHL things go away. Come on. There we go. He leads in every statistical category except for blocks. However, I believe him and Ngangba are tied. Before they were. Earlier in the week they were. After this last game, they are not. But averaging 23 a game, nearly 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He just does it all. Like late in games, that's I think been kind of the main like problem for Duke here so far this year is late in games they don't really have a true point guard, but he's just been able to step up and be that point guard. Like in the Florida game, he's the one handling the ball. He kicks it off to Isaiah Evans, who hits the game winner. Caleb Foster had a really good game in that Michigan State game as well, as a guard, but like kind of like being the secondary guard off of Boozer's distributing. So like I said, this Duke team is deep, and that was kind of my thing. Like coming into the year, I was like, how is it going to be guys that played lesser roles last year because just how good the starting five of Duke was last year. Now they have bigger roles. How did they be played? So far, I'm impressed. Isaiah Evans, like I mentioned, averaging 12 points a game, 1 assist, but he's like shooting the ball, at a decent clip, not great. But like he's stepped up in big moments. Patrick Nwagba, I've been really excited with as well, averaging nearly 12 points a game, 6 rebounds. Like I said, leader in blocks there, shooting the ball, 65% from the field. So that's been really solid. And then, Caleb Foster, 9 points a game, 3 rebounds, just about. He's shooting, 47% from the field, 42% from 3. So he really had a big game against Michigan State. That's what impressed me the most. This Nick Kamenia kid coming off the bench has been really good for Duke. He was kind of there, obviously not as highly touted as the Boozers, but, one of their more kind of guys that was highly touted as a freshman coming in, averaging 6 a game with 4 rebounds, 2 assists. But same thing, shooting it over 40% from 3. Like he really like comes in and plays his role really well. He has started in a couple games. And then Dame Sarr too has hit some big shots, averaging 6 points a game on 42% shooting. So this Blue Devil squad looking pretty good so far. Like I said, I kind of thought Michigan State was going to be the test that, got them, because that is like the thing. Like I said, they don't really have a true point guard, and some of these games they've kind of like Florida, they let back in the game. Like that one should have been over. Arkansas, they kind of played around with their food a little bit too much, I thought. So that's where I kind of thought Michigan State then was going to knock them off with it being in East Lansing, a really tough place to play. And Michigan State has, they were a team I picked against a couple times here early in the year, but it proved me wrong. But Duke, like I said, very impressed with that win. Really the last like tough non-con game for Duke is not this Saturday, but next Saturday when they take on Texas Tech. I want to say that one's on MSG, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, neutral site, which granted MSG kind of turns into a Duke home game, not as much like a UConn, but Duke fans usually travel pretty well up there. And then after that Tuesday, January 6th game at Louisville, that's me a game I'm really excited for. As you can see here, Louisville's in that top 12. They're a team that I'm really high on. Like, the ACC is definitely going to be deeper this year than it was last year. I mean, Duke just kind of walked through the ACC last year. Only loss was to Clemson. But, like, Louisville's good. They play them twice this year, so I'm excited for that. North Carolina is going to be a lot better. Like I mentioned before, that Michigan game on February 21st, too, that's going to be a really big one. Does Duke not play NC State this year? Or no, second to last game, play at NC State. That kind of sometimes can be like a tough place to play for Duke. Especially, like, I feel like they do that a lot where they always put it right before the North Carolina game. But so far, I'm feeling pretty good about this Blue Devils squad. Like I said, we'll see how they fare against Texas Tech. I like them in that one. I really think like that game against Louisville is going to be their biggest test yet to date once they get there. I mean, maybe not to date, but like that'll be a tough one. Like similar to Michigan State, playing on the road. And then, yeah, like I mentioned in the Michigan, kind of talking about them, that game against the Wolverines in February. Both teams are looking as good as they are right now. I'm going to be very excited for that one. Sorry, excuse me. Then moving on here, we get to Iowa State. And Iowa State, with maybe one of the most surprising results of the season so far, up there with the like Michigan-Gonzaga game. Cyclones are 9-0 on the year after going into Purdue and just dominating the Boilermakers, 81-58. Proved at 9-0, like I said, wins over St. John's. That was a really close game with the players there. That one was fun. Our team at the players are like, they kind of got screwed over a little bit. I think I said this like recapping it, or actually I don't know if I ever did a video recapping the players there. I must be thinking about it on my channel. However, they're losing right now to Iowa. Playing that one is live. But like I said, nice win against St. John's because of the weird players era format. They end up, since it's a close game, not getting to play for like either the championship or third place, and then they just like seeded it randomly. Where I really wish they would have matched Iowa State up with Alabama. I think that would have been a really good game. Instead, they get Syracuse and they just blow the brakes off Syracuse. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, they beat Purdue like even worse. So really impressive win for the Cyclones over the weekend in Mackey. So looking at their leaders, it's really this big three here. As you can see at this top of Milan Momcilovic, Joshua Jefferson, and Taman Lipsey, all can score the ball at an insane rate. All are returning. Like, they kind of, everyone was hyping up, myself included, the Purdue big three coming into the year. Like, there wasn't really a whole lot of hype about this big three, and they are really living up to it. Like I said, you're seeing all of them averaging more than 16 a game. Even Killian Torrey averaging 12 has been really solid as well. I'm just looking at Momcilovic as a whole. Yeah, 18 points a game, 3 boards, 1 assist. Shooting 54% from field, 53% from three. Like, he just like does not miss. He's just the most pure shooter that I've really seen right now in college basketball so far this year. Joshua Jefferson, 17 points per game. He's also a leader in assists, with 5 plus 6 boards to go with it. Like, shooting the ball really well too. 56% from the field, 45% from three. Like, usually I'd be going crazy about a guy shooting 45% from three, but they have a guy that's shooting over 50% from three. Like, it's just nuts to think about. And then Lipsey, who was their like go-to guy last year, he's just such a good defender. He has suffered like some injuries, as you can see there. He's only played in 6 of their 9 games so far. But he's just a guy I'm really high on, like I said, averaging nearly 19 points or 17 points per game, plus, close to 6 assists, also shooting over 50% from the field. And then, yeah, Torrey right there, 57% from the field, scoring 12 a game with 40% from three, plus he's their leader in steals. Like, Iowa State's just a very good defensive team too. That's the thing here is, like, I'm talking how much they can score the ball, just their defensive ranks. Like, I forget what they were again on KenPom. Like, but they should be, if they're not, yeah, they're number 2 right behind Michigan. Like, that's really what it has been for the Cyclones. Like, they really did not let Purdue get good looks, and they kind of forced them into tougher shots, and that's how the game kind of became a blowout. So, once again, looking at it kind of coming up here, Iowa State playing Iowa right now. The Hawkeyes are a team that, I like. I'm a big fan of Bennett Sturts, have been for a couple of years now, or at least last year. But like, Iowa's a better team, or Iowa State's the better team. So I'm kind of confused how they're losing. I'll have to tune in, watch highlights on that one. After that, though, really not many tough games left in the non-conference, just a couple mid-major schools before then they open play versus West Virginia. Really kind of at Kansas on January 13th. It's probably going to be their toughest game. I'll probably be live for that one. That'll be a good one. Always tough to try to go into Allen Fieldhouse and win. So excited for that one. Their later half of their schedule kind of tough as too. It looks like, they play Kansas second time versus Houston, at BYU, versus Texas Tech, at Arizona. So the Big 12 is going to be a lot of fun this year. I know there's a lot of debate on which conference is the best. Is it, is it the Big 10? Is it the Big 12? Is it the SEC? Really, at least at the top right now, I would say it's the Big 12 just with how good those teams are. However, I mean, like I said, there's definitely a case for the Big 10 with Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue. But I don't know, Arizona, Iowa State, BYU, Houston, they're all right there in that mix too. So going to be a lot of fun. And then kind of the final team, like I said, in the tiers, those are the 4 undefeated teams. But I honestly think UConn's probably in this tier of if I had to pick my national champion right now, I'm picking one of these 5 teams. UConn, 9-1 on the year. They beat Florida in the Jimmy V Classic on Tuesday. It was a nice win. Definitely a battle. Florida gave them a tougher game than I thought they would. Granted, Xavier Lee definitely had his best game by far for Florida, so I think that's kind of what it was. But UConn here, nice win at Kansas a couple weeks ago. Beat Illinois in the Garden. Only lost at home against Arizona. But, the Huskies have looked really good so far. So kind of looking at their stats here. Their leaders, and that's maybe just where kind of some people aren't as high on them. Solo Ball and Alex Caravan are kind of their 2 go-to guys. And maybe that's not as high of a level, which kind of crazy because, those guys have been there. But some of these other teams, I kind of like their higher level players. So Solo Ball leading the Huskies, 15 points per game, 3 rounds, 1.6 assists. And Terrace Reed, second leading scorer, he's had some injury problems. That's the thing, too, with this Huskies team. I feel like we haven't really seen their full potential just because some of the injuries they've been dealing with. Terrace Reed only played in 5 of the games. Braylon Mullins, their big freshman that came in, he's only played 4 games. So a lot of injury kind of issues here for UConn so far. But yeah, Reed with 14 points a game, 7 rebounds, shooting 63% from the field. And then Caravan, who is on those 2 national championship teams, he's averaging 13 and 5 and 2 on 50% shooting. And then Silas Demery, the Georgia transfer, 10 points a game, 4 boards, 5 assists on 50% shooting. And then he's also their leader in steals with 1.8. So this UConn team, they have guys. I think they have 1 through 5, definitely one of the best lineups in the country. It's just, can they stay healthy? Because like I said, the Reed injury here, if Mullins can really get going, he's been battling some injury too, that'll be huge for them. But it's just, do they have kind of this go-to guy, which I'm not super sure they do. Looking at their schedule here, they host Texas tomorrow, and then they get right into Big East play. My apologies. I guess, yeah, Big East also starts earlier. Yeah, because the Big East does the full 20 games where you play everyone twice, which I'm a fan of. But really, the Big East has been really rough this year, and that's kind of almost a thing, too, that worries me a little bit. Granted, in that league, it's definitely a tough league to go on the road. At Seton Hall, that's a place you could get slipped up. When Providence and UConn play, it's always a big game. But they don't play St. John's until February. They play them twice in February. But I think, this team probably could have 1 loss through January. It would not surprise me. If they had more than 2 losses through January, just kind of looking at the schedule here, that would surprise me just because of how bad some of these other teams, they play Georgetown, who's been all right, but I don't know, they just kind of got blown out by North Carolina. I think Georgetown's kind of coming back down to earth a little bit. Creighton's not look good. Creighton's not good this year. Marquette, who I was hoping would at least be a tournament team, does not look very good. That's kind of our second Big East game, and then fourth. Gosh, I can't read. And then end Big East play with at see, that's the thing. Now I'm living in Milwaukee. That'd be a fun game to go to. UConn at Marquette, but honestly, UConn might blow the brakes off them, so who knows? But UConn, like I said, I think they're right there in that contender tier. As you can see, their only loss was to Arizona. I think it's going to be one of those 5 teams. It's just, I don't know if they have kind of a top guy like those other teams do. So then we'll kind of browse through. I'll go through the next kind of 3 teams a little bit more quickly here. Next is Purdue, 9-1. Nice win at Alabama. Looked really good in Baumar. Taking down Memphis was close at times, but then just destroying Texas Tech, people thought was really good. And then after a win at Rutgers, which at times has been a house of horrors for them, they lose to Iowa State over the weekend. Bounce back, nice win over Minnesota, but it's really, like I said, that Iowa State loss is definitely kind of concerning for Purdue, just because of, like I said, Iowa State took them out of their looks really easily, and that's kind of the concerning thing for me. So their leaders, it's the big three I talked about: Fletcher Loyer with 14, Trey Kaufman with 13, and then Braden Smith 13 as well. Kaufman-Renz also got 10 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting over nearly 60% from the field. Braden Smith, he's shooting the ball really well from three, over 44%. And then he has, 9 assist leader in that as well. Oscar Clough was a really good transfer for them. I was high on him coming into the season. Him and, Daniel Jacobson, they're two bigs. Been playing all right. Clough with 11 points, 9 boards per game, shooting, 70% from the field. And then Jacobson, 9 points a game with 4 boards, also shooting over 70%. So, they got good bigs. That's always Purdue always does. So you see, they were one of the higher rated offensive teams. Yeah, still ranked number 1 in offense, which I don't know how I feel about that. Like I said, just how they looked. But, this Purdue team's going to be good. It's just, like I said, they got to find a way. It was kind of the same thing with the Zach Edey teams a couple years ago. If people could knock their offense kind of off their game, I felt like Purdue was really beatable. And that's against Iowa State what happened. So Purdue's got to find a way, just kind of use that big three, use some of the bigs a little bit more efficiently, get better shots. Looking at their schedule here real quick, they host Marquette, like I kind of talked about. Marquette not looked very good. And then playing Auburn, it's a neutral site, but it's in Indianapolis. That's one I should be excited for. That's going to really be the measuring stick about Purdue. If they look really good in that one, heading into Big Ten play, then I'd be willing to move Purdue back up into that, kind of national title contender tier, like I was talking before the year. Looking at then once they get into Big Ten play, it's really not till later in January where they then play UCLA, play Illinois, Grant, USC before then could be tough as well. They have a lot of home games to start. I mean, at Wisconsin maybe could be a tough one, just playing in I forget the Kohl Center. However, Wisconsin got blown out by Nebraska yesterday, so maybe not. Purdue does travel to Nebraska this year too, so a lot of tough games. Like I kind of talked about, don't play Michigan until February. Only play Michigan State once. So Purdue, like I said, I want to see how they look, especially here once they get to Big Ten play, before I'm ready to kind of put them back in that top tier contenders. But so there's some concerns for me with Purdue, definitely more on those top 5 teams, but I think they should be fine. Then moving on to Houston. They're 7th ranked country, also 9-1. Only loss was to Tennessee at Players Era. They followed it up with nice wins against Notre Dame and Florida State. Oh yeah, Notre Dame was at Players Era as well, and then Florida State over the weekend. Auburn played them tough earlier in the year, but yeah, I don't know. Houston's been a team I can't say I've watched as closely as of late. Like I said, since they weren't playing in one of those top tier Players Era games, I didn't get to watch their last game from that tournament. Just with that, kind of being a busier day. But looking at leader, Emmanuel Sharp, Kingston Fleming's up there as well as Miles Uzan. JoJo Tugler hasn't really had as good of a year as I was hoping to, only scoring, 7 points per game, 5 rebounds. Shooting under 50% from the field is a little concerning for me. Chris Sinak, their leader on the rebounding end, he's averaging, 9.7 rebounds. He definitely has kind of stepped up for them, but that too, just like the way Houston is scoring isn't always super efficient. I guess that's maybe my worry, kind of looking back here on the Ken Pom ratings. Houston, 29th ranked offense. Granted, they're always more of a defensive team, the 5th ranked defense, but I don't know, just the way, like I said, just the way some of these guys who were returning, how high I was on them coming in the year. Like Houston was my pick to win the championship, I believe, coming into the year. They just really haven't looked as good as I was hoping to. Luckily, Kingston Fleming's a freshman, has definitely played a bigger role. Like I said, Sharp's their leading scorer, but I don't know. I guess I was just kind of expecting a little bit more from Uzan and Tugler than they're getting. So for that reason, like I said, same thing. I'm not really – Houston, I think, could find their way back into that top-tier contenders list, but right now I'm really not willing to put them in it. Looking at December 20th, they play against Arkansas in a neutral site game. I forget where that one is. That's their last big one before they get into Big 12 play, where they have, a test early versus Texas Tech. Heading to Baylor, and Baylor's, not a ranked team right now, but a solid squad. And then they play at Texas Tech 2 times really close. Don't have to go to Arizona. Do have to go to Kansas, though, and to BYU and Iowa State. So, yeah, Houston kind of got a tough draw here in the Big 12. Granted, I mean, it's not like they're not going to miss the turn or anything. They're still going to be up there. But, yeah, they just – I don't know. I would say probably, right now they're probably a 2 seed, but yeah, depending on how things go, they could be like a 3 or a 4. So we'll see. Not really ready to put Houston in that tier. They probably have a little bit more work to do than Purdue, just because, like I said, they barely beat Syracuse. Like they low-key should have lost the game to Syracuse. Like they're how they played in the Players era I was not very impressed with. And the final team we'll kind of dive deep into here. The runners-up the Players era, Blake said, got blown out by Michigan. Gonzaga Bulldogs. They're ranked 8th. Nice win so far against Creighton, Arizona State, Oklahoma, destroyed Maryland. Nice win against Kentucky in Nashville last week. But yeah, it's really just that glaring loss to Michigan is the big one you're seeing right now. So Gonzaga leading the way for them. It's Graham Ike. It'll load. I know it's not scoring wise, but he's their go-to guy. He's been there for a while. He's averaging 16 a game, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting over 50% from the floor. Like this team will go probably much as far as they'll take him. Braden Huff actually been their leading scorer. He has been playing well. 17 points a game, 5 rebounds, shooting at 65% from floor. So that's really impressive. Then Mario St. Cypri is a guy that I've been really high on. I've enjoyed watching him play. He's averaging 8 a game, but 5 rebounds, 1.7 steals. Like he's a guy, came over, played in Spain for a while. So it's really like him. Can he step up? Can Graham Ike really kind of continue to carry this team? Tyon Grant Foster has his moments. He's averaging 12 a game. But him too, like I kind of expect a little bit more from him being, a 26-year-old still playing college basketball. So this Gonzaga team, they've had their moments. Granted, I would say like a lot of these teams, looking back on it, granted, the Alabama win's a pretty nice one. But like those other games, like Oklahoma, Creighton, Arizona State, like Creighton's not, they were ranked at the time, really not looking good. We'll see how they fare against UCLA this week. I think that'll be an interesting test. Donovan Dent, leader there for the Bruins, him going against, St. Cypri and Tyon Grant Foster. I think that'll be a fun one. And then they play one more neutral site game against Oregon, where, like I said, Oregon, I really haven't been super. I was hoping more from Oregon this year. So I think Gonzaga should win that as well. And then once again, they just play this West Coast Conference schedule, which the Pac-12 schedule next year at least will be like a little bit better. But that's the thing. That's just my main thing too at Gonzaga is I feel like they don't, they do. I'll give them credit. They play a lot of these tough non-con games. Go Players there, go to all these places. But then once conference play comes around, they really aren't tested outside of their 2 games against St. Mary's, which end of January and end of February. So we'll kind of see how the Bulldogs fare. And just Gonzaga, I feel like this is kind of always what happens with them. Like they'll go deep in the term, but eventually, like they just really don't strike me as the team that's going to get over the hump. And with how many good teams there is in college basketball this year, I just really don't think this is the year for them. So I definitely would have them, maybe as like a long shot ticket if you want to take Gonzaga, sure. But they definitely, I don't think would be a team I'm putting my hard-earned money on here so far this season. So yeah, let me know kind of here as I went over, all these different teams' resumes, what you guys think of all these different squads. And now let's kind of move on to some of the games to watch this weekend. So, now that college football is done, like I said, not fully done, but the regular season's done, conference championships are done. Now Saturdays like really fully become college basketball. So like there's always going to be good games on Saturdays, even Friday, like they said, that UConn Texas game. So like these next 2 Saturdays, definitely make sure you are watching college basketball. Starts Arkansas at Texas Tech. That's a ranked matchup on ESPN2 at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. That one's in the American Airlines Center in Dallas. So Arkansas, let me see. Can I like pull up the if I click the time, does that take me to the game? It does. There we go. Bang. Come on. Once it loads. So Arkansas, I just want to pull up their schedule. They lost to Duke, but have beaten, kind of teams since, a couple low major. Jackson State, Winthrop, LSU, or Texas Tech beat LSU, Wyoming. Wyoming's like a decent team. So you can see there are 2 leaders, Darius Acup, JT Toppin. Texas Tech kind of favored to win this one. I think I would probably go with Texas Tech. I like their kind of bigs and just their depth overall a little bit more than Arkansas State in that one. So then next one to watch, like I said, Marquette at Purdue. I think Purdue should roll. Marquette, like I said, just looked very bad so far this year. Like I thought they'd be a tournament team, but I didn't like see them winning more than like, one tournament game being like a 7 to 10 seed and maybe winning one game. But yeah, I don't see how they make the tournament at this point. So Purdue should really roll in that one pretty easily. We do have a Big East game, Providence at Butler, 1 Central, 2 Eastern on TNT from Hinkle Fieldhouse. Finley Bizjack been playing really well for the Butler Bulldogs this year, so definitely check him out if you have not yet. Looks really good in their game against Northwestern, I want to say. I forget who they played last week. But yeah, Butler, I've been impressed with them. They're a team like they could be maybe kind of punching towards the top of the Big East just with how down Marquette and Creighton have looked. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. George Washington at Florida. George Washington, however I want to say, they suffered another loss. They're like a fun mid-major team. Was hoping to like maybe have a at-large resume, but that seems like it's definitely kind of taking a hit. However, a win at Florida would be huge. Maybe they somehow then get kind of back in the mix with that. Middle of the day, we got Fox, Kansas State, Creighton, 2 Eastern. PJ Haggerty, the Memphis transfer, has been fun for K-State. Like I said, just with kind of how these two teams have been playing. Like Kansas State lost to Bowling Green at home this week and then got blown out by Seton Hall. So haven't really been super. And I've kind of already talked about Creighton, Grant Jackson McAndrews, like being out for the year for them has been a big loss. So yeah, they're definitely two teams that are kind of struggling. Memphis at Louisville, I like when rivals like this play, old CUSA rivalry, border battle there. That one's at 2:30 or 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central on ESPN. That's definitely one to tune into. Memphis, definitely a down year for Memphis compared to how they've been as of late. But like I said, rivalries like that are fun. I think that'll be a pretty good crowd there on Saturday. Then same time, three Central, 4 Eastern on Peacock, Nebraska at Illinois, a ranked match. Like I said, Nebraska ball, undefeated on the year so far. Renick Mass, the Bradley, well, he's been at Nebraska for a couple of years now, but I remember I originally watched him at Bradley since my sister goes there. He's been a lot of fun to watch, and this Nebraska team really can score the ball. So that's going to be a tough test for Illinois. Like I said, Illinois right there kind of on that cut line of could they be a national championship team? I kind of have my reserves about them a little bit. Keaton Wagler's been playing really good for the Illini this week to go with, all the Eastern European dudes, Andrei Stojakovic, Kylan Boswell. So that should be a good one, like especially for a Big East contest or a Big Ten contest this early in the year. Definitely one I'm excited about. Or no, Butler lost their last game. I was tripping to Boise State, but I knew they played someone. Then just kind of continuing to go down here. Pitt at Villanova, old Big East game. 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central on True TV. Should be a decent one. Both those teams are looking all right this year. Plus, like I said, I like in-state rivalries, border rivalries, stuff like that. A lot of fun. Then Kansas heading to NC State. Darren Peterson now back for Kansas. He was out for players there, missed some of their games, I want to say Champions Classic. But now, going to be back heading to NC State. NC State suffered a couple losses in Maui. So no longer ranked, but if Darian Williams gets it together, like this NC State squad could still be pretty solid. And then the nightcap, Indiana at Kentucky, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central on ESPN. This is going to be one where it's Charles Barkley and Dick Vitale on the call. And Lamar Wilkerson went for 44 in Indiana's win the other day. Hoosiers they suffered 2 losses last week with a nice bounce back. Then, taking on a Kentucky team, granted, at Kentucky, but Kentucky has not looked good. They're 5-4 now on the year after losing to Gonzaga and who's the other team? Gonzaga and North Carolina in the last 2. So suffering 2 losses last week. Just the offense has really not looked good at all. So it's Kentucky needs to get it together. And against a school like Indiana, this is their spot. If Kentucky loses this game, they may be borderline, like it might just fall off a cliff and they might miss the tournament altogether. So definitely a big game for them. We got Rutgers at Seton Hall. Like I said, Seton Hall's been playing well. Battle for the Garden State, so that's another good non-con game. Ohio State at West Virginia could be solid. San Francisco and St. Louis, very good mid-major matchup. 2 of the better programs. Plus that one at SLU. So Robbie Avila, I forget what people were calling him when he was at Indiana State, but there was a bit of a down year for SLU last year, but they're definitely looking good once again this year. And then I guess really late. Yeah, it's like there's like 5 games on ESPN on Saturday, but they like all start super late. Like we got Arizona at Alabama at 8:30, and then UCLA Gonzaga at 10:30. Let's see those games. It's in Birmingham for the Alabama Arizona game. That's gonna be a real tough test for the Wildcats. Having to go across country, but they've already done it, winning at UConn. So we'll see. Alabama likes to play at a fast pace. If Arizona can slow them down, that's I think can be kind of the key in that for them. And then, UCLA Gonzaga after that. Plus, like I said, they only do 2 hours between these games. I guarantee you that UCLA Gonzaga game tips off after midnight Eastern, which I already saw Mick Cronin was like mad that they're tipping off so late. I don't know why they don't put like one of those on like Fox or something, but so be it. Should be some good games. So let me know what you guys are going to be watching. So lot of good hoops here. Sorry, let me stop screen. There we go. Let me get rid of the banner. Bang. But that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Like I said, let me know down in the comments, what games you'll be watching, what teams you're high on, what teams you're betting on to win this win this tournament. Like I said, already December. We got December, January, February, and then it's March. So season's gonna fly by for especially these next couple weeks are pretty slow. So definitely make sure to tune in on Saturdays. That's when there's a lot of the good games. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all next week.